All right, we're back at it again. And this is the podcast series. It's not a podcast. One of those things where you see someone do a 2, 3, 4 hour plus long podcast and you're like, yo, wrap it up. You can say what you're about to say in a couple minutes. First person I want to acknowledge is rapper Pop Smoke, who I horribly learned was 4 years younger than me. I was under the impression that this dude was older than me the entire time. Not that that has any bearing on what happened to him being a tragic case regardless, but just seeing that he was coming up, making moves, doing his own thing, being authentic. I just felt for him immediately. I'm of the age now. A year will be passing, and I'll be at the same age that Tupac was when he passed away. And I think people are starting to forget how often and how frequently this has been happening and for how long. I'm not saying that should desensitize you to a situation like Pop Smoke, but we should definitely be aware of how long this has been going on and how long we've been having the same conversation without any reform. Now, you could ask who that reform should go to, the responsibility of the reform, who should take the blame, who should, be the spokesperson for change. There are advocates for change, but those advocates have definitely gone through a lot, and a lot of them have been taken out before their time as well. Nipsey is a big example of such. I feel really awful and bad celebrating some artists and then like on the second hand feeling bad for them when something happens. Not to say that I don't have empathy or you shouldn't have empathy, but it is just to say that a lot of times I think people allow their entertainment or what they're gaining from these artists when it comes to entertainment to overtake the actual condition of the artist. A lot of people's perspective into these artists' lives is literally just through the music that they make, and they don't have an understanding of what the artist goes through or the paranoia that follows them everywhere they go, even after success. There's no reason that a guy like Pop Smoke should fear for his life in the hills the way he feared for his life in the hood. There's no reason for that. And that reality is only a reality for young black men from what I see. I can't speak to your experience if you're not a young black man, but I see too many young black men in this situation as rappers. I see too many young black men that can corroborate that story of paranoia, even if they've done nothing wrong. It's gotten to a point where so many people that are not involved in that space are aware of it, and it's gotten to a point where so many people like myself are aware of it that are within that space, that grew up in a shitty background and still fall victim to the whole supply and demand logic. Like, I'm still listening to music that talks about this stuff and is sold for entertainment, but at the same time criticizing it when the actual, I guess, ramifications of that lifestyle show up at the rapper's doorstep. That isn't to say that because an actor goes and films a movie and he's acting out the role of a drug dealer, that when he gets off work, he should have his distributor show up to his house and off him. I'm not saying that. And for all I know, this could be just a random attack. It might not even be anything major, anything planned, but I'm more inclined to believe that that is the case. I'm more inclined to believe that someone was watching him and people were looking for this dude and just waiting for him to slip up. I saw too many people on Twitter, and this is what motivated me to almost like delete my Twitter entirely, because I really want to just get off the app wholeheartedly soon. But I still do acknowledge that it can be used as a tool for spreading whatever information that you want to spread. When it comes to discussing and talking about the nuances of death and the nuances of black participation in black art as it pertains to Hollywood, as it pertains to the music industry, there isn't enough information that you can put in a 200 character plus tweet that can do justice to the condition that so many of these guys live in. The condition that so many of them come from. I don't know. That's nah. Like I just feel I can't use escapism here. First thing I saw people do was try to find some minuscule reason, some minuscule thing to attach to distract them from the overarching problem, which is obviously violence among young black men. They don't want to have that conversation. I hate that imaginary authoritative figure to they. But when I'm speaking to some of the people that drive some of the hip-hop community, like the suburbia of the online community when it comes to discussing hip-hop conflict, hip-hop culture, A lot of them want to just deflect from one thing, which is a conversation they have no information about, to something that's so minuscule and doesn't matter. Like imagining Russ as the new villain and mistaking one UK artist for the American artist and then immediately attacking him. They went from that immediately to calling each other clout chasers. Then immediately after that, they went to trying to be woke on Twitter, trying to say something like, oh, acknowledge Pop Smoke the person. We don't know the person. You don't know the person. You know the celebrity. Accept him as that. It's tragic either way. I don't know what the solution to that problem is when it comes to young black men in that community in this space, but I know the conversation needs to be had from that perspective and addressed from that perspective and from no other. Paranoia is sickening. I know he had paranoia. I know it. I listened to a couple of his songs. I wasn't a huge fan of his music, but I heard paranoia in his music. I hear it in all these artists' music. Most of them that come from the hood, I hear it in all of their music, a sense of paranoia, strong sense of it. And it sucks when you walk around with that paranoia when you're at your lowest and even when you're at your highest. It sucks. Whether you do something wrong or not, that reality exists. But I'm off him, R.I.P. and fuck everyone who's got something to say about it. Getting into Young Thug, he's been getting quote-unquote canceled lately. And do I think it's rightful? I just think what he said was unnecessary or unwarranted. No one asked. Again, we have another case where no one asked, but Young Thug gave some very, very small words. But I got what he was trying to say. What he was trying to say was God don't make mistakes. So I understood what he was trying to say. But what he said was still fucking stupid. Saying God don't make mistakes in the world we live in today is a really ridiculous thing to say, all right? Either you're going to be realistic and make it so the God you believe in accepts no responsibility or takes no blame for any of the things going on in the world right now, or you're going to say he doesn't make any mistakes and then also blame him for everything that's going wrong in the world right now, right? Young Thug's got like 17,000 kids right now, I believe. I might be wrong. I'm just saying that. I'm sure he's got like 90,000 kids right now, all right? You mean to tell me that it was in God's plan for you to have that many? You're that great of a father that God's just sending them out of your dick just like that. No questions asked. Oh, man, Thugger, you heard so much fun, Jesus? You heard that shit? Give him another one. Give him another one. I didn't ask you no question. Young Thug's making his next album, and I swear he's about to levitate out of the studio with a third eye coming out of his forehead, with 6 arms and 7 legs. He'll have aged 10,000 years. In what world do these two mix, right? If God is the reason that you're trying to justify your discomfort with the situation, I wouldn't tell you to just say that. But I would be comfortable with you acknowledging that more than saying God don't make mistakes, because that's just a lame excuse. My belief system isn't the most conventional. I like to be responsible for my own actions. I like for people to be responsible for their own actions without blaming a demon every time they do something they know they shouldn't have done. But I'm rambling. That's like, it's an obvious thing that Young Thug didn't make any sense with what he just said. My issue is really with Think Peace Twitter. They've come out and made a fool out of themselves so many times. For those of you who don't know, I should preface this by putting in an edit here. Editor, please don't mess this up. Zaya, right? Zaya is the child of Dwayne Wade and the mother. Gabrielle Union's not the actual mother, but she's stepmama in this situation. Boom, you got the gist, all right? Young Thug's comments were in regards to Dwayne Wade supporting Zaya's decision to be a she instead of a he. Boosie hops in the fray, and Boosie has some words for Dwayne Wade. He's afraid. He's so concerned about Zaya and the decision that Zaya's made. He wants to make sure that Dwayne and Gabrielle aren't chopping any parts off before they're ready to be used. Right? Dude who straight up came out and said that he hired, sex workers for his 13-year-old son's birthday is now concerned about the sexual transition or the transition that Zaya may have. I get it. You're really doubting father. Where Think Peace Twitter goes wrong is they respond to Boosie and they criticize him for his decisions that he's made with his son and try to make it seem as though the son isn't going through any kind of trying living situation, completely overlooking the son to acknowledge that Boosie has no perspective on Zaya's decision. They want to be woke and progressive so bad they want to overlook an entire rape of a 13-year-old boy. Y'all just want to use the fact that that happened to your point for why he shouldn't have a perspective on Zaya. But you don't want to actually acknowledge it, because acknowledging that would acknowledge some type of violence or abuse on young boys. But you don't want to do that because that also doesn't fit the narrative. As it pertains to Zaya, I don't care, right? I don't care. If that's what you want to do what you do. I'm all for supporting children. Again, y'all know, or you don't know, but I've alluded to this in the past, had a shitty background. Loving mother, shitty background. No one was concerned for me when I was out here knocking them down at 14, 15 years old. Nobody was concerned about me at all. Outside of that, what do they say? It takes a village, right? Children need support. They need love. They need understanding. They need care. And I'm not saying that I agree with just seeing a child say something that would confuse an ordinary child and then accepting it willy-nilly without being like, are you sure? Let's make sure. If this is what you want to do, here's XYZ. Last thing I'm going to do is ask the cast of a show how I should handle my very own child when it comes to something as serious as this. And the biggest issue I think I have with the whole Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union thing going on right now is just that they've used their child as a display piece. I get how important representation is in this world. I, as a young black youth, especially looked to other black influences when I was growing up just to kind of see and be more motivated than I would regularly be, because I already felt a certain type of way going into the world, making my way downtown, walking fast, strutting. That song is only in my head because of white people. When I think about it from that vein, I understand why for the LGBTQ community it's important to have representation and to look at a kid that comes from a black household that homosexuality is normally oppressed in. I get why it would be important, but you put your child on a display, it immediately opens them up to criticism. No one should know. No one should be aware of Zaya's decisions right now. Zaya is barely old enough to make Zaya's own decisions, let alone those decisions be made public, right? It's as bad as when T.I. made it public that he was going and having his daughter's hymen checked. It's as bad as that, in my opinion. I get that for many people it's a positive. I get for many people it's progressive and it's an emotional connection that a lot of people can identify with. But the last thing you should do is involve your child. Keep them protected. Keep them hidden. Honestly, whether they're gay, straight, trans, whatever, keep them hidden. Because there are a lot of people acting fake woke and fake concerned about Zaya's decision right now just out of some sense of discomfort, right? Because they don't know how to explain why they don't like the decision. They don't know how to explain why this is such a big issue other than acting out or acting as if they're concerned, when really, had Dwayne Wade or Gabrielle Union not made this public at all, no one would be talking about this at all. No one will be talking about why this is such a big problem and why this is tearing down young black men, why this is tearing down the community. You want to know what's tearing down young black men? People focusing on other issues outside of the issues actually affecting young black men. So yeah, you're asking me if I agree with the decision. If this were the full transition at 12, I would be livid. I'd be flipping my shit, right? Because no child should have their body tampered with because they feel a certain way. I just don't agree with it, right? Not until their frontal lobe is fully developed. Let that happen first, then make the decision. But if this is just based off your gender identity, you feel a certain way, we don't know how this person is going to feel 5, 3, 4, 5, how many ever years from now. Okay, gender identity isn't like it's not a permanent decision, right? It doesn't have to be. You can feel like this today, you can feel like that tomorrow. I don't know, but just know that I'm going to love you regardless. That's all you need to know. All right, that's it. You're going to get the support. I love you. It don't matter. But this isn't the full transition. People that are freaking out and overreacting to it, I get opening the door leaves it open to a possibility really soon. But until that happens, you're not the parent. Stop acting fake concerned, because you're not. Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade are doing good to show the world that they're supportive, but really be careful. Pop Smoke, he's a literal example of such. Be very careful of how you advertise yourself. Be very careful of how you put yourself on display. Be very careful of that. You don't know the attention that you're bringing. You don't know the danger and the criticism. And you don't know what that, especially to a young person like Zaya. You just don't want to open up that door. You don't want to do it, all right? It's okay to love. It's okay to love and to support. But protect. At the same time, protect.